This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the main event. I hope you've had a lovely week. I've just finished watching the main event show, and then straight after jumped right into the Elimination Chamber match, or the PLE, and let me tell you, I am, more than shocked of the things that have happened there. And I guess the first thing we have to mention is the John Cena heel turn, which I guess to me is probably like something that I've been waiting for a very, very long time. And I'm actually surprised that WWE actually pulled the trigger on this and have made John Cena heel on his final run at WWE. And looking at it, giving myself time to, process that, it does make a lot of sense, considering the fact that John Cena is in and out of WWE because of Hollywood to start with, and it much resembles The Rock's journey as well, and The Rock's kind of career trajectory getting towards Hollywood as well, putting WWE on the side. So for this heel run to go good, there's always needs to be like a sort of kind of segment or kind of persona they have to run with, and I feel as though the Hollywood route and selling out to The Rock, who is obviously big time in Hollywood, such a crazy figure, just makes complete sense. And I really like the angle they're going with this like Hollywood Cena, Rock and Cena teaming up. But who would have ever thought in a million years you would have John Cena and The Rock as heels at the same time? It's just incredible booking from Triple H, if I'm honest, and it makes the road to WrestleMania 10 times more interesting, and I'm glad they went about it. We obviously heard The Rock saying that he wanted Cody's soul. And you guys, if you have watched the Elimination Chamber, you would have known what happened there. But again, Cena turning heel is just amazing. And I am keen to see what happens now as we go forward to WrestleMania, and what's going to happen, and how the explanations go about, and everything that gets involved with that. We also saw the massive attack from Jade Cargill on Naomi, which I, to be honest, suspected that it was Naomi. But again, we have no clear path to that. All I can say is that, me personally, from that attack, it feels as though Jade elevated a little bit because of how brutal she looked in the ring, and how she executed those vicious attacks on Naomi as well. But again, we have to see how Jade actually is able to perform in a match for more than like 5 minutes. So let's see how that angle goes. And it's going to be interesting to see how they tie that up with Bianca also winning the chamber, which is something that I didn't predict. At the time, it didn't make sense, but looking back at it now, it sort of makes sense because of the fact that, yes, Bianca started very emotional because of what happened, and then she ended up overcoming that and going through it, and then eventually winning the match too. Liv Morgan was very good in the match, I got to say. She was close, but not close enough. So we're going to get Bianca Belair most likely going to be versing Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, but we don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, she's got this match with Io Sky tomorrow on Raw, but again, we'll have to wait and see for that as well. But anywho, those are the two other results. We also had the match between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, which I predicted would be a no contest, but I did say that Randy Orton was going to come out in the match, and he ended up coming out. He almost punted Kevin Owens, but obviously the security guards interfered with that, which was a shame because I would have loved to see the vicious punt come back to the WWE fold. But again, Kevin Owens actually getting the victory there, but Randy Orton still returning. And then we had the tag team match, which was obvious that Tiffany Stratton was going to win, and Trish Stratus to build momentum to WrestleMania against Charlotte Flair, and also Trish Stratus being in her hometown made complete sense in that aspect. And then we know the results of the men's chamber. We can see some storylines building up there with Damian Priest rolling up Drew McIntyre for his 3-second pin. We also saw Seth Rollins doing what he said, and that was to crush CM Punk's chances of having a main event WrestleMania match. And then obviously John Cena taking advantage and getting the victory there. And speaking back on John Cena, because it's such a massive thing, what also makes sense is the press conference that he had when he said that him being in the Elimination Chamber match was best for business, and him going for the World Heavyweight Championship is also best for business. So again, showing the examples of a corporate sellout, of a Hollywood sellout there, subduing to The Rock's antics, and it's going to make a lot of sense. It might be a pass of the torch moment as well. John Cena passing the torch to Cody Rhodes, who is right now the face of the WWE. But again, we're gonna see how that kind of goes for the future. But I won't talk too much about the Elimination Chamber because of the fact that there'll be plenty of content available on the WWE podcast to discuss that. But just thought I'd give my 2 cents on what happened there. Another news that I'd like to announce is that I'm actually going to be creating a new podcast. Well, starting a new podcast. It's going to be called The Huddle Within. So TheHuddleWithin. You can follow me on all my socials: TikTok, X, YouTube, and Instagram. We haven't got on Spotify yet. I'm just in the process of planning those podcasts out. It's basically just a podcast discussing sports as a whole. I'm a massive sports fan above WWE, and just going into kind of the depths of the game, beyond the game, how it impacts our lives, etc., etc. And I'd really appreciate you guys to give that a follow and have a look. If you are liking the sound of my voice here on these podcasts, maybe you might be interested in what I also have on that as well. So really excited for that to be launched, but still going to be doing my weekly main event reviews here on the WWE podcast. And if it wasn't for, I guess, starting this, I wouldn't have been able to venture out and really have the guts to do my own podcast. So really excited to launch that as well, and your support would be very much appreciated there. And then the final thing is that WWE has announced a partnership with TKO that will have a weekend of WWE shows as well as UFC, which I don't really mind about the UFC. I'm more focused of this year in 2025. The WWE is coming to Perth, Australia, and I am 100% excited for that. I live in Melbourne. Perth is about 3 hours away on a plane, but I'm 100% going to be going to that if I can get my hands on tickets, and hopefully I can do something interesting with that on the podcast as well. But they're set to have a Raw, a SmackDown, and a PLE, which is super exciting. I've been to the house shows here a few years back. I didn't get the chance to go last year to Elimination Chamber because unfortunately I was overseas, so I missed out on that. But now I've given a second chance to go, and I'm actually more keen on, to be honest, the Raw and SmackDown shows because I've never seen a house Raw SmackDown show live, and it'd be awesome to see like a few promos cut. It's not to say that I'm not excited about PLEs. PLEs are unbelievable, but I would be super keen on just seeing the storyline kind of progress in a SmackDown and Raw show with promos and kind of anticipation leading up to the PLE, which of course I'm going to go watch because it's where we see the storylines and feuds come into full fruition in a classic wrestling fight or a non-disqualification fight. But yeah, awesome to see that they're going to be having more shows here in Australia. And I've actually never been to Perth before. Australia's a big country, so haven't really had the chance to go Perth, so it's a good opportunity for me to visit as well. So I'll be looking out for that. But again, extremely excited for that as well. And once again, be sure to check my page, The Huddle Within. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook to connect as well on those as well. Sorry, not Instagram. I mean not Facebook. I mean X. So yeah, look out for those. But without further ado, let's get underway with the main event show, which obviously is going to be hard to kind of take the heights of what we've just witnessed now. But we get a match between Alba Fire and Natalya, with Natalya getting the victory via submission with her sharpshooter. And the first question that I've got here is, I don't know what their plans are for Alba Fire here. Obviously, Isla Dawn's been released, and it just seems as though there's no reason for her to really be there, especially if she's getting losses to the likes of Natalya, who are there to meant to be pushing or elevating these stars, as she's a veteran and she's done her time. But again, Alba Fyre getting the loss here, pretty disappointing to see, because obviously, there's no real plans for her in place, so she might just be on main event, taking a lot of pins and stuff. But let's see how that goes. I guess with the Intercontinental, the belt being around, she might have a chance there due to the fact that she is Scottish, and there might be a future for her down the line. But right now, that doesn't seem to be the case. We then get onto the Raw segment that happened last week with Lyra Valkyria taking on Dakota Kai. Lyra Valkyria getting the victory here with the Nightwing, but most importantly, we see Ivy Nile come in and basically attack Lyra Valkyria from behind, basically putting herself forward to be the number one contender for that title, which is a very unconventional way. The fact that she already lost to qualify to Dakota Kai doesn't really make sense, but I guess they need a heel for Lyra Valkyria to make this feud a lot more interesting. It's not that Dakota Kai wasn't deserving of it. She did get her rematch as deserved. Well, not really her rematch, but her rematch had a chance of winning the title. But Ivy Nile is the heel here, and it makes the most sense because of that. And hopefully they can make this feud a little bit more interesting. I'm not sure whether this will be a WrestleMania match. This might be something that we'll see on Raw. But again, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. We also get the promo between Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, which we're not going to go into back on Raw because of the fact that that's all been addressed through the Elimination Chamber. So it kind of defeats the purpose there. But we then get the second match of the main event, which would be Grayson Waller, the Aussie icon, who hopefully gets a feature and is pushed enough to the point where if he does come to the Perth show in Australia, it's well worth him getting a match, or at least him, again, featuring on the Grayson Waller effect. It feels as though that because we're in there, he deserves a little bit of a push to make that show interesting. But he gets a loss to Dragon Lee here, which again is another example of like why he's losing this match. I don't understand. And maybe it just is there to promote Dragon Lee's Speed Championship run and just to show that he's defending it, because at the end he was holding up the Speed title. But again, Grayson Waller losing the match just doesn't really do anything. It might mean that he's just going to be staying on main event. And they didn't really address the Austin Theory stuff as well. So still waiting for them to eventually break up, but there hasn't been any rumblings of that at this very stage, which is quite frustrating because this has gone on for nearly over a year now. And it's time that these two split up. It's time that, as I mentioned last week, Austin Theory elevates a bit, being that young superstar, and Grayson Waller kind of just gets away from being a tag team champion or former tag team champion and being in a tag team and actually doing something on his own. I did compare him to The Miz, and I will repeat that again. It's more of the fact that The Miz was such a good heel, well hated and so annoying, but he wasn't able to really always back that up in the ring. But sometimes getting those cheat and upset victories, I feel like they can go to that route with Grayson Waller in the future if they decide to do it. And if my bias doesn't get ahead of me, he may not be right now the best in ring, but he's unbelievable on the mic, and he finds a way to really irritate people with his attitude, his cockiness. And one day, if he was to like win a Money in the Bank and just cheat his way to holding the title for 6 months, I think it'd be very interesting, and it would be something that would be a little bit captivating as well. I think Grayson Waller is a little bit underappreciated, if I'm honest, and I really hope he does get that elevation, and that could come from this eventual split up between the two. But we're just gonna have to wait and see on that as well. We then get, for the main event on Raw, which obviously transitions into this episode of the main event, the tag team match between Naomi Bianca Belair versus Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, and we get an unconventional non-finisher finish with Raquel Rodriguez slamming Naomi's head onto the pole and Liv Morgan pinning her to get the victory. And now with the events that we've seen from Elimination Chamber, it does make a lot of sense. I would have said this before, when I did initially watch Raw and see this segment, it made a lot of sense for Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez to win the title. And then it also sort of made sense, or would have sort of kind of just ruled out the fact that Liv Morgan was going to win the Women's World the number one contendership for the Women's World Champion and winning the Chamber because she's already the tag team champion. And taking that off Naomi and Jay and Bianca therefore led to what was eventually going to happen with Jade at the Elimination Chamber as well. Splitting them two up, getting the titles away, and now them focusing on the feud itself. So now Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez have got the victory there. So they're 3-time tag team champions. Makes a lot of sense. Good booking, if I'm honest. Good match. Good to see. Again, a non-finisher decide the match. And now we, as mentioned at the start of the episode, we're going to see what happens with Bianca, Jade, Naomi. There's a lot of factors involved as well. The fact that Bianca won the Elimination Chamber too, how that kind of ties into everything, and what Jade has to say regarding the attack. And if we ever actually see the attack happen before. But it does make a lot of sense. In the end, Naomi ends up just taking her spot and becoming a tag team champion and becoming mates with Bianca Belair. And then we just never hear anything from Jade. But I got to mention, I was very impressed to see how Jade came in and just full destroyed Naomi in that chamber. So hopefully that kind of gives her the push and everyone turns their heads a bit to take Jade seriously. It's certainly elevated me for her, as I mentioned before. So let's see if they can run with that and Jade can run with that. It's a great time because WrestleMania is now approaching and the road to WrestleMania for everything is quite clear, as we can see after these Elimination Chamber events. So again, an awesome overall week in WWE. Main event having some 2 matches that it's hard to review because they were pretty irrelevant at this point, and it's very hard to do these shows, especially when the PLE literally happens on the same day for me. They both come out on the same day. All I want to really do is just discuss the Elimination Chamber. But again, we're here for main event, and from the 2 matches that we've reviewed, I'm not pretty impressed with if I'm being honest, the bookings there, and not really seeing a direction that Alba Fire has, and again, not really seeing a direction where Grayson Waller has. If I was to defend the second match, before I reviewed it, Dragon Lee winning the match might just be something to tune into when he probably versus the New Day as well. So, and then also that promotion of the Speed Championship. But again, we'll have to see what happens on Monday Night Raw following these events. I'm really excited to see that. Really excited for the road to WrestleMania. And hopefully main event can come up with some pretty decent matches moving forward as well. And again, we'll continue to also review the Raws and the SmackDown segments that main event show puts into it. So really excited for next week's episode again. But it's been a pleasure, again, recording this. Really excited with the direction WWE is going at the moment. Also excited to launch my podcast, as mentioned, at The Huddle Within. So please check that out as well. And without further ado, I will catch you guys on the next one next week. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.